Robert Fleming's voice through the phone carried a weight I hadn't heard before. "James, you need to come to the firm today. It's about your father." I nearly dropped my morning coffee. My father, William Harrison, had been dead for 89 days. Pancreatic cancer, 71 years old, gone in 8 weeks from diagnosis to funeral. We'd been close, not in the traditional sense, but in the way two men who respected each other's silences could be. He'd built Harrison Industries from nothing, watched me join the Navy instead of the business, never held it against me. I'd held his hand in the hospital, signed the papers to let him go, delivered a eulogy that made even my sister Catherine cry. "What about Dad?" I asked, setting down the mug carefully. "He left instructions with our firm, a package, very specific terms. I was not permitted to give it to you until exactly 89 days after his death." Robert paused, and I heard papers rustling. "James, your father was extremely particular about the timing. He said you'd understand why when you opened it." 89 days. That number meant nothing to me, but everything about the past 3 months had felt wrong anyway. I drove to Fleming & Associates under a gray October sky. At 52, I'd thought the surprises in my life were behind me. 20 years in the Navy, retiring as a commander, then 10 years running a small maritime security consulting firm. Divorced for 6 years after Karen decided she preferred her yoga instructor to her husband. My daughter Emma was 24 now, living in Portland, doing well. Dad's death had been expected but still devastating. The funeral had been huge. He'd known everyone, helped everyone. My older sister Catherine had been inconsolable, or so it seemed. Catherine was 56. Married to Preston Whitmore III, a man whose grandfather's money had run out right around the time he'd married into ours. They had 2 sons, Bradley, 28, who'd never held a job for more than 6 months, and Justin, 25, who'd been arrested twice for DUI and once for cocaine possession. Dad had paid for the lawyers each time. I'd always been the outsider, the one who joined the military instead of taking an executive position at Harrison Industries, the one who lived in a modest townhouse instead of the family estate, the one Catherine barely spoke to at family gatherings because I didn't understand what it meant to maintain the Harrison legacy. When Dad got sick, Catherine had moved into his house to care for him. She'd hired nurses, of course. Catherine didn't do actual caregiving, but she'd been there, managing access, managing his affairs. I'd visited when I could, but Preston seemed to be there all the time, talking about protecting Dad's interests and ensuring the legacy. The will reading had been 3 weeks ago. Robert Fleming had gathered us in the conference room, Catherine and Preston, their sons, me and Emma. Dad's estate was valued at approximately $275 million. Harrison Industries, real estate holdings, investments, art collection, a fortune built over 50 years. Catherine had worn black Chanel and an expression of serene confidence. Robert had read the will methodically. The primary estate, Harrison Industries, the family mansion, and the controlling shares of the business went to Catherine. Bradley was named COO of the company. Justin got the vacation properties in Aspen and Martha's Vineyard. Preston was appointed to the board with a generous salary. To me, Dad left his boat, the Wanderer, a 38-foot sailboat he'd bought when he retired, and $100,000 cash. Catherine had actually patted my hand. "I'm sure you understand, Jamie. You were never interested in the business. Daddy wanted to keep Harrison Industries in the family, the real family that's committed to his legacy. The boat is perfect for you. Very thoughtful." Preston had smirked. Emma had squeezed my hand, furious on my behalf, but I'd felt nothing, just a dull ache. Dad and I had our differences, but I'd thought, well, it didn't matter what I'd thought. Now, 89 days after his death, I sat across from Robert Fleming as he placed a sealed package on his desk. It was the size of a shoebox, wrapped in brown paper, my name written in Dad's precise handwriting. "Before you open it," Robert said carefully, "I need to tell you something. Your father changed his will 3 times in the last year of his life. The final version, the one I read to your family, was completed 6 weeks before he died. But this package was prepared at the same time with very explicit instructions. He slid a letter across the desk, Dad's handwriting again. "Robert, if you're reading this to James, I'm gone. Give him 89 days. That's how long it took his grandfather to figure out who could be trusted after my grandmother died. It's enough time for people to show their true colors. James needs to see what I saw. Make sure he watches everything alone. Then help him do what needs to be done." My hands were shaking as I opened the package. Inside was another USB drive, a thick folder of documents, and a smaller sealed envelope marked "Watch First." Robert stood. "I'm going to give you the conference room. Take all the time you need. When you're done, we need to talk." The conference room had a large screen. I plugged in the USB drive with hands that wouldn't quite steady. Dad's face appeared and I nearly broke right there. This was from before the cancer ravaged him, maybe a year ago. He looked tired but strong, sitting in his study with his whiskey glass visible at the edge of the frame. "Hello, son," he said, and his voice was clear, firm. "If you're watching this, I've been dead for 89 days, and you're probably hurt, angry, and confused about the will. Good. That means everything went according to plan." I hit pause, stared at the screen. According to plan? I pressed play. "James, everything I left to Catherine in that will, the company, the house, the money, I did it knowing she'd destroy it all, because she's been destroying it for years, and I needed her to feel safe enough to finish the job. I needed evidence that would stand up in court, and I needed you to be protected." Dad leaned forward, his eyes intense. "Your sister is not who you think she is. I know you two were never close, but you assumed that was just family dynamics, personality differences. It wasn't. Catherine is a sociopath, James. Clinical, diagnosed, hidden for decades. I found out 5 years ago when I hired a private investigator to look into some financial irregularities at the company." He took a sip of whiskey. "What he found, son, your sister has been embezzling from Harrison Industries for 15 years. She's stolen approximately $47 million, moving money through shell corporations, offshore accounts, fake vendors. She's good at it. Brilliant, actually. Preston doesn't know. He's just a useful idiot, a respectable name she can hide behind. But Bradley knows. He's been helping her for the last 7 years. My mind was reeling. When I confronted her privately 2 years ago, she didn't deny it. She laughed, James. She told me I'd never turn her in because it would destroy the company's reputation, tank the stock, hurt thousands of employees. She was right. I couldn't expose her without destroying everything I'd built." Dad's face hardened. "So I made a different plan. I started documenting everything. I hired forensic accountants under the guise of routine audits. I had investigators follow her, record her conversations. I restructured parts of the company in ways she didn't understand, creating legal firewalls. And I changed my will to give her everything she wanted." He paused, his expression almost sad. "Because I knew what she'd do once I was gone, and she felt safe. She'd accelerate her plans, get greedy, make mistakes, and in 89 days, she'd reveal herself completely. That's how long it took my father to catch his business partner embezzling when my mother died. 89 days. Something about that number. It's long enough for people to relax, short enough that the trail is still warm." Dad opened a folder on his desk. "In the documents I've left you, you'll find evidence of every crime Catherine has committed. Embezzlement, fraud, tax evasion, identity theft. She's been using Harrison Industries as her personal bank for years. But there's more, son. There's something I couldn't prove until after I was gone." His voice dropped. "I believe Catherine killed your mother." The room spun. Mom had died 18 years ago. Car accident. She'd driven off a cliff on a rainy night, no witnesses. Tragic, terrible, but an accident. "Your mother wanted to divorce me," Dad continued quietly. "She'd found out about an affair I'd had years before. She was going to take half of everything, and Catherine was furious. She saw her inheritance shrinking. The brake line on your mother's car was worn, but the mechanic said it was consistent with age. I didn't question it then. Now I have recordings of Catherine talking to Bradley about solving problems permanently and how easy it was the first time. He wiped his eyes. I can't prove she murdered your mother, but I can prove everything else. And James, I need you to be the one to bring her down, because she'll never suspect you. You're the disappointment, remember? The one who walked away from the family business. She thinks you're weak, thinks you don't care about the money. She thinks you believed the will. Dad leaned back, looking suddenly exhausted. In 89 days, Catherine will have made her moves. She'll have accelerated the embezzlement, thinking she got away with it. She'll have gotten sloppy. The forensic accountants I hired, they're still working, son. They report to Robert Fleming, and they've been tracking every transaction since I died. By now, she's stolen at least another $5 million. He smiled, but it was bitter. The real will is in that envelope. The actual will, properly executed, witnessed, filed with the court under seal. It leaves everything to you, James. The company, the house, the money, all of it. Catherine gets $1, as do Bradley and Preston. Enough that they can't claim they were forgotten. I couldn't breathe. But you can't claim that inheritance until Catherine is in prison. That's part of the condition. Because if you try to claim it first, she'll lawyer up, tie it up in courts for years, possibly destroy the company in the process. But if you bring her to justice first, if you let her crimes speak for themselves, then the real will becomes active and you inherit everything as part of the restitution process. Dad's eyes were wet now. I'm sorry I had to do it this way. Sorry you had to sit through that will reading, had to see her gloat, had to think I didn't value you. But I needed her to believe it, and I needed you to be safe. Because, son, I don't think she would have stopped with embezzlement. The life insurance policies she took out on me in the last year, 8 different policies, $20 million total. She thought I didn't know, but I knew. And I think she was planning to speed up my death if the cancer didn't move fast enough. He raised his whiskey glass to the camera. You're my son, James. The good one, the honorable one. The one who chose service over money, integrity over image. I'm proud of you. I've always been proud of you. And now I need you to do one final service. Save Harrison Industries from your sister, protect our employees, and make sure she can't hurt anyone else. Dad's smile was real now, sad, but genuine. In the folder you'll find everything you need. Names of the investigators, the forensic accountants, the lawyers who know the truth. Robert Fleming will help you coordinate with the FBI and SEC. It's all arranged. You just need to pull the trigger. He set down his glass. And James, about the boat, that was real. I left you the Wanderer because I knew you'd love it, and because no matter what happens with the money and the company, I wanted you to have something that was just ours. Take it out sometime. Have a whiskey on the water. Tell me about your life. I'll be listening. The video ended with Dad saluting, that old Navy salute he'd learned to give properly when I graduated from Annapolis. I sat in the dark conference room for an hour before I could move. Robert Fleming returned with coffee and patience. We spread the documents across the conference table. The evidence was overwhelming. Spreadsheets showing fund transfers, Shell Corporation papers with Catherine's signature, recorded phone calls between her and Bradley discussing removing money before the auditors looked too close, photographs of meetings with offshore banking consultants, and the life insurance policies, 8 of them, totaling $20 million, all taken out in Dad's name over the past 18 months. Catherine was the beneficiary on all of them. The signatures were forged but expertly done. Your father was thorough, Robert said quietly. He worked with the FBI for the last 6 months of his life. They've been building a case, waiting for enough evidence. The 89 days gave Catherine time to get comfortable, to move more money. They've been tracking everything. When? I asked. Whenever you're ready. The FBI wants to move this week, if possible. She's attempting to liquidate some company assets to move more money overseas. They want to catch her in the act. I thought about Catherine at the funeral, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. Catherine at the will reading, patting my hand with false sympathy. Catherine at 1,000 family dinners, looking at me with barely disguised contempt. "Let's do it," I said. They arrested Catherine at Harrison Industries headquarters on a Thursday morning. FBI agents, SEC investigators, state police. They walked her out in handcuffs in front of the entire corporate office. Bradley was arrested at his apartment, Preston at the country club. Justin, surprisingly, wasn't charged. Apparently, he'd been too drunk and high most of the time to be involved in the schemes. The searches of their properties uncovered even more evidence. Catherine had kept meticulous records, arrogant enough to believe she'd never be caught. She'd stolen $52 million over 17 years. She'd forged documents, bribed officials, created an entire network of fake businesses. And in Bradley's computer, they found the emails. Emails between Catherine and Bradley discussing their mother's car accident. Not confessions, but close enough. Remember how easy the brake problem was? If we need to solve this problem, we know it can look like an accident. The prosecutors couldn't charge her with Mom's murder, not enough direct evidence, but they reopened the investigation. Civil suits were filed by Mom's estate. The truth was coming out, piece by piece. Catherine showed no remorse. At her arraignment, dressed in an orange jumpsuit, she looked at me with pure hatred. "You were always weak, Jamie. Daddy's little disappointment. You don't deserve any of this." The real will was filed with the court. The sealed document was opened, verified, executed. Everything Dad owned came to me. Harrison Industries, the mansion, $273 million in assets after legal fees and taxes. I stood in my father's study, my study now, holding a whiskey glass, looking at the picture of him and Mom on their wedding day. Young, happy, full of hope. Emma flew in from Portland. We sat together in the house she'd grown up visiting, the house that was now mine. I still can't believe it. All of it. And Catherine, the money, Grandpa's plan? "I protected us," I said quietly. Knew Catherine would have come after anyone who stood between her and the inheritance. By making me look irrelevant, he kept me safe. "What are you going to do with it all?" I'd been thinking about that for days. "The company needs repair. Catherine nearly destroyed it. I'm bringing in new management, real oversight. I'm turning it into something Dad would be proud of again." "And the money?" I smiled. "Setting up a foundation. The Elizabeth Harrison Foundation, named after Mom. It'll help victims of financial fraud, support investigation into suspicious deaths, fund training for forensic accountants. Every person we help, I'll think of Dad." Emma squeezed my hand. "He'd like that." The trial lasted 3 months. Catherine was convicted on 47 counts of fraud, embezzlement, tax evasion, and forgery. Bradley got 23 counts. Preston, surprisingly, was acquitted. He really had been clueless. Catherine got 45 years in federal prison. Bradley got 22. During sentencing, the judge asked if Catherine had anything to say.
She looked directly at me. "You'll never be him," she said. "You'll never be worthy of what he built." The judge interrupted her. "Miss Harrison, your brother is the only reason Harrison Industries still exists. If you'd had your way, you'd have bled it dry and left thousands of employees with nothing. He's already proven more worthy than you ever were." 1 year after Dad's death, I took the Wanderer out onto the bay. Emma came with me, and we scattered some of Dad's ashes on the water. We'd kept some aside for this. I raised a glass of his favorite whiskey. "You were right about the 89 days, Dad," I said to the wind. "You were right about everything. I wish you were here to see how it turned out. I wish you could see the company now, the foundation, how many people we've helped." Emma stood beside me, her hand on my shoulder. "He sees it," she said quietly. "Somehow I think he sees it all." As the sun set over the water, I opened the small envelope Dad had left in the package, the one marked Private for after. Inside was a single handwritten note. James, if you're reading this, justice was served. I'm proud of you, son. Always have been. The day you joined the Navy instead of my company was the day I knew you'd be okay in life. You chose your own path, your own honor. That takes courage I never had. Everything I built for security, for legacy. You built yourself for principle. That's worth more than all the money in the world. Enjoy the Wanderer. Enjoy your life. And know that every day of your life you made me proud to be your father. Love always, Dad. I folded the note carefully, put it back in the envelope, and tucked it in my jacket pocket. Then I turned the Wanderer toward home, the setting sun at my back, my daughter beside me, and my father's love, finally, fully understood. I'm 54 now. Harrison Industries is thriving again. The Elizabeth Harrison Foundation has helped 347 victims of financial fraud, funded 12 major investigations, and put 6 predators behind bars. Catherine writes me letters from prison sometimes. I don't read them. Justin got sober and actually apologized. He works at a rehab center now, helps other people get clean. We have dinner sometimes. Emma took a position at Harrison Industries, her choice, not mine. She's brilliant at it. And sometimes, on quiet Sunday mornings, I take the Wanderer out alone. I pour 2 glasses of whiskey, drink one, and pour the other into the sea. Thanks, Dad, for the 89 days, for the truth, for trusting me to do the right thing. The wind carries my words away, and I imagine him somewhere, somehow, raising his glass back. Because love doesn't end with death. It just changes form. It becomes truth, justice, a plan so carefully laid that it saves everything worth saving. And I intend to honor that plan for as long as I draw breath.